Good morning, everyone. It's Dr. Dady, Center for Health and Healing. Thank you for tuning in to the final podcast with Empowering Women in 2025. Today, my special guest is Melissa Graham, and I know her for about 6 years, and she is a mortgage broker specialist. And I call what she does like a Rubik's Cube because she fits specific needs for someone looking for that, lifelong wonderful place to live, I'd say. So I'm going to turn it over to Melissa and let her talk a little bit about what she does, how she got there, and how she can empower you in your life personally or maybe moving into a career.
Thank you, Dr. Dady. It's an honor to be here with you today and speak about this. It's something that is near and dear to my heart. And a lot of people think, oh, you work in mortgages, you've probably always owned a house or multiple houses. And, it's such a overwhelming thought for some people to take that first step. And so they get in this rent cycle or, not wanting to take a chance on themselves. So a little bit of a backstory is that I actually grew up in a double wide, and when my parents got divorced, my mom and I moved into an apartment. So the first house that was ever owned in my direct family was when my husband and I bought our first house in 2009, and I started in the industry in 2007. So I had to take that first step that a lot of my clients take, and that I tell them that picking up the phone or going to the keyboard and sending that email of, I want to look at getting pre-approved is the hardest step of this entire process. Mm-hmm. Once that's done, we can move forward from there.
Right.
And so just giving that relief to them when we have that initial consultation call, I think a lot of times takes a lot of the stress that was there about what is to come off the table because they realize, I already did the hardest step.
Right. And you've been there, you've done that.
And I've been there and I can relate with them. And it's a sense of accomplishment, this many years later that will never, ever go away.
Well, something that you just said struck a chord with me. I thought of this last week, and it was like, for me, the biggest light bulb that went on. If you haven't been there and done that, you don't know what it's like. So you really are not a good mentor for people, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought back, a 30-year-old doctor does not know how a 60-year-old person feels. Right?
That's fair.
But a 60-year-old doctor understands what a 30-year-old person's going through. They've been there. Because I thought back about it when I was 30 and a patient would come in and they had XYZ and I'd say, what? Just go run, just go. And now I'm like, oh, no, that's not good advice. Going through the process that you've gone through and the experience you have makes you such a diamond in the rough because not just that, the biggest reason inviting you here is because your heart and you care and people come first, right?
Oh,
so you're really, I watched how you, and I've listened to you for a while in PowerCore, how you look at everything they need and make sure that you're giving them a loan that will be successful. Because a lot of times, we talked about this, they don't care. They just want to get their money for selling you a home and they just move on to the next person. No, what you do for people has been always so endearing to me. And watching you, I have a nephew that, of course, you've done his loan, and then I could see the whole entire process and how you hold their hand, really make sure they're going to be successful at that. So go on and continue telling us, how you got where you are and how successful you've been with.
So I started in mortgages right out of college. I actually went to Georgia Southern University with the intention to be a nurse. So I guess there is that help people aspect that is deep and rooted in me. Did not get a nursing degree, got a finance degree, and started in mortgages in 2007, which if you know anything about the housing market, 2007 and 2008 were quite an interesting time to enter into this field. So I worked on, I call it kind of like behind the scenes of mortgages. It was processing, underwriting, getting to know what goes into creating a mortgage for somebody with their different scenarios, and then worked on a capital markets desk, which is like the day trading of mortgages. I'll save the nerdy talk for later. But so then I decided, I have all of this knowledge of what a mortgage is, how someone needs to qualify for the product, how there are so many different options for a single buyer that they maybe are not told about or ever explained, because like you just said, people just want to hurry up through life. It's transaction. How much can I close? Not the relational and what is the best for the client. And I was like, let's take it to the streets is what I call it. So I went into originating, and it has been really fun and exciting. And I've met so many wonderful people, and sometimes it is here's a plan for a year or 2 years down the road. And sometimes we're going to the closing table in 8 days. Everything is just so different, but taking that and getting to know the person as a whole to help them achieve their goals is what I put as a priority.
One of the questions that might help our listeners is, what are a couple of products that are out there that they do not know? Because I've heard you mention some products and I'm jotting it down. Wow, that's really cool. That could help a new buyer come to the table because maybe they were leery and now there's a new product out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So for some of our, it's called affordable housing or attainable housing options, there's an area median income loans that are like conventional loans that if they make at like 80% of the area median income, they actually get better interest rates. So the idea there is to help them afford the housing better for the lower payment.
Area, like where you live in that area, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Okay. So the house area that you're looking to buy in. Okay. So if we were looking in Marietta, I could go into the conventional engines and find out what that median income is based on census tracking information. And then we can start looking at different products based on that. That's like our cookie cutter W-2 pay stub kind of employee. Now, since COVID and people have redefined what is so important in their work-life balance, a lot of people have become 1099 or self-employed or said, I'm passionate about this part of my business and not the other. So I'm going to create a business based on that. So we have a lot more creative financing solutions now too. Those are called non-QM loans. So we can use just 1099s. We can use 12 months bank statements and leave your tax returns out of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, great if you show everything on paper and then you owe the IRS a ton of money. But if you want to, maybe you have a lot of deductions. Maybe it was a year where you did truly have a lot of business costs, but your deposits were still there. Well, then let's give you the credit for the deposits.
Okay.
And look at, a bank statement loan.
Well, that's good. What have you found moving into 2025? That is something that's a lot of people are like loans that they're doing because it's so successful, like it's really working. Is there a new, like 2025, because I know we're only 3 months in, right? Almost 3 months in.
Almost 3 months in, yeah.
And do you see anything like really, because I'm looking, like I know I'm at 2.7, then we just went through really some bad stuff. So do you see us moving back down that way?
Well, so in the last week, rates have actually come down a good bit. They're at a 3-month low.
Oh,
so
that's really
it's
great.
Not a ton of movement, but movement in the right direction for sure. So what I advise a lot of clients who are currently in what you just talked about, this scenario of I'm married to this rate that I got 5 years ago or 4 years ago before the rates ticked back up, is okay, well, what does the rest of your life look like? What is your household interest rate? What's the rate on those credit cards hanging out? Or that new HVAC that you had to get, or, that big life purchase that you had to put in on an installment loan because life doesn't stop. And when we blend all those together, we can look at your blended household rate and start saying, okay, well, you have all this equity tied up. How do we make this work for you? Or maybe it's not just that. Maybe there's a goal of buying an investment or a second home. Okay, well, if you have this equity, how can we make it work for you? So then you create more assets and more investments for your future. So,
and you gave us a little bit of your history in the beginning and how you started out. What was your main driver? Because what I want to speak to with women is, how do we empower you to move forward into owning your own home or wanting to do your own business, getting rid of those fears, really, because I always say what you think and do becomes your life. And when I even think about what you're doing with homes, that's the same thing I do with health. I'm rebuilding someone's health from I say the foundation is the gut.
Yeah.
So I'm rebuilding. I'm not just going, a problem, here's, like, you're not doing that. You need a house, here's a house. No, let's look at the whole thing and make sure what you're doing and what I'm doing. Make sure that we give you, in health, I'm giving them a lifetime of tools to stay and be healthy. And you're giving them this, I mean, amazing investment, but the best scenario so they're not failing. What's your foundation that drives you? What is that for you?
Well, every day it's going to be, what can I hang my hat up? My poppy, and you can tell I'm from the South with a poppy, but he always said, your name follows you everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone says, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I realized that. I'll be 40 next month, and I've realized that really quickly. Like, that's okay. But if I am your cup of tea and we have the ability to work together, then when you speak my name to someone else, I hope that it comes with like a sense of accomplishment and good thoughts, and that I truly helped you, and
Warmth.
not,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and not
I see warmth
disappointment.
when you talk. I always think warmth, and I don't know. I know I've done some of these business tests, and I'm a D, so people are like, oh, less people really, when you're so driven and you're direct, less people are attracted to that. And I don't see you as that. So you're someone unsuspecting, like you see you talk to you so sweet and knowledgeable and intelligent and God-fearing person.
Oh, absolutely.
Woman. And so then when you start getting down to business and really helping, all of that unwraps. It's like a flower. It's just unwrapping, unfolding. So yeah. I was really taken by how you have such a full balance in your life, because balance is important. Family, mm-hmm. business, and of course God first. And that was so impressive. And I thought maybe, the way because most people think, and they look at you and they go, and where you are, what you're doing, right? That you notice you were born into just having what you wanted, and because you're very successful. So letting everybody know, you have to start where you start. Mm-hmm. You can't. You have to be able to get experience, and sometimes you got to get your hands dirty. You just have to be driven, determined, and surround yourself by successful people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's so much value in the tribe that you keep around you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And mm-hmm. it's, we all wake up with bad days, but we have a choice every mm-hmm. single day. And that's the biggest thing that I put my foundation in is, my God, like he controls everything that I do. And I like to think that I'm in control sometimes, and then he checkmates me, but I think we all do that. And then when we rely on him, everything comes to serenity and we understand. But allowing that to be in the forefront, and then making the choices. Okay, I could look at this situation as, half full or half empty, and go from there. And, I put myself through college. I worked full time, graduated with Hope Scholarship. Thank the Lord we had that around. But, I came out of school with college debt. So there's no choice. I had to hit the ground running and do something. And there wasn't a backup plan. It was me and what I made, every 2 weeks going into the bank, and that's what you lived with. And, and it's, you build from there.
I would say we had to crawl on glass for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted you to, while we're wrapping this up, I wanted you to talk about the empowerment thing we were talking about just before we started. Was it a game or?
Yeah. So, I was speaking with my husband about this opportunity to sit down with you today, Dr. Dady, and he said, that is crazy on timing, because I think Women's Empowerment Day is coming up, and the Atlanta Hawks are actually having a Women's Empowerment Night at one of their games. So he shared a special ticket offer that we can share with the listeners. So if they want to go down.
Because your husband does.
He works for the Atlanta Hawks. He's
That's so beautiful. There, okay, wonderful. Yeah. So I knew that. I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah. So at the end of this podcast, I'm going to attach those. It's like a QR code, like a ticket.
Yeah, it's a link where they can go in and get tickets for that night at a special value.
So listen, after you finish listening to this, you can click that link and get yourself some Atlanta Hawks tickets.
Yeah.
If you like basketball, I love basketball, especially now when March Madness is coming up.
Yes, yeah.
I appreciate you coming and talking today. I hope this inspired everyone listening. And if you have any questions, you can click the link below, go to Dr. Dady at drdady.com, and you can email me, or you can go Dr. Dady at drdady.com to my website. And then Melissa's information is?
So you can find me online at strategicmortgageadvisors.com/Melissa Graham, or email at melissa@strategicmortgageadvisors.com. And no question is too small or too big. And the best advice that I can give you is just take a chance on yourself. The answer is always no until you try.
Have an amazing day. Thanks for listening, everybody.